Hello viewers, Super GT here. This round of the Manufacturers Series brought us to High Speed Ring, and it had a very interesting twist in the form of variable weather. And we're going to jump in. This was a really good race. This is what Gran Turismo 7 should be all about, some great racing. For our first race, we had to, of course, buy the intermediate and wet tyres before we jump in. And, of course, add the quadrant livery to the car. Must be worth 100 horsepower. We jump into our first race, our first attempt at this one, High Speed Ring. As you can see on the rain radar and on the windscreen, plenty of rain, and the moisture meter isn't zero. And there's the weather radar. We are inundated with moisture, shall we say. So for qualifying, this was quite weird because the track wasn't fully dry, but it was getting slowly wetter and wetter. And because I got let out towards the front of the pack, I was able to set a slightly drier lap time, if that makes sense, because I was further ahead of the pack compared to most people. So we crossed the line there, setting the 5th fastest lap. And because the track was only getting wetter and wetter in qualifying, it was actually harder to improve. So no one could actually beat that time as the session went on. The rain was about to end, but the session ended, so that didn't actually matter anyway. So we finished that in 5th, and the decision had to be made. Which tyres do we start the race on? Now, I took a massive risk here and went for heavy wets in the hope that the rain would continue and eventually get to a point where it's so wet that you really do need the wet tyres, rather than make a pit stop. Unfortunately, this proved to be the wrong decision, as I was just losing about a second or 2 seconds a lap, and I just couldn't quite really match the guys at the front of the pack. By lap 5 here, you see the rain, it just wasn't really approaching anywhere near the levels I needed it to get to. This driver in the Jaguar having a bit of an issue there on the exit of the final corner. It was quite tricky to get right, given High Speed Ring has a lot of banking. Now, through the tunnel here, lap 14, I managed to get back up into 6th position, past the Atenza, who kept me close company towards the end of the race. But to confirm the status of a Super GT video, I did finish ultimately in 6th position there, and was kind of ruining that, I made the wrong decision on tyres. Looking at the other guys in this race, there were a fair few who were on the wet tyres, but the guys towards the front were on the intermediates. That was the right call for that race. So we jump into our second attempt, and well, this one didn't actually last all that long really, because we got to the black screen of death and then the unexpected error of death before 1 hour later we jump back in to the next split, which is actually the final attempt. This was the one at 9 PM. Now, the weather is slightly different for each of the races, so you can't just learn what happened in the first one and then just do the same in the last one, because it's not going to be the same. I botched my qualifying lap here because I hit the barrier, and that was a bit frustrating because, like before, it was actually the same here in the sense that the track was getting slowly wetter over the course of qualifying. But I've got the intermediate tyres on, tried to set myself a qualifying lap through the final corner here, taking the high line, which tended to be the best line with the most banking up there. So as we come up to the line, let's see what this lap time is going to be. Haven't currently set a lap. Across the line, and we go 3rd on a 19.7. Now I tried to improve, 19.8 there, 19.7, and I just wasn't able to beat that time. 20.1 on lap 6. And then quite a lot slower on this one. So ultimately we finished in 3rd. It might have been a little bit better if I had got my first lap in without hitting the barrier, but there you go, starting in 3rd position. And for this one, I made the call to start the race on the intermediate tyre. Now this race, everyone, this was an absolutely incredible race. I can't stress enough how good this race was. Absolutely loved every moment of this. Well, not every moment, but 99% of it. So the weather radar showing a constant deluge of rain, not too heavy, but still quite constant, at least to begin with. So we're just going to try and settle into this race. We've got the right tyres for the time being. So the main objective really is have a nice settled first lap, not make any glaring errors, don't hit the barrier, don't get a penalty, nothing stupid. Let's just settle in, and hopefully the others will begin to make the mistakes. So as you can see, a range of cars at the front, although it was the McLaren that was fairly prominent towards the front of the pack. It looked like there was maybe 4 or possibly 5 cars that would work for this race. The McLaren being one, the BMW, which I'm driving, also a solid option. The GTR, which is just in front of me, a solid choice. The Mazda Atenza, as ever in Group 4, absolutely OP in a straight line, but I think maybe the rain kind of nullified it a little bit. But with long straights here at high speed ring, the Atenza was always going to be a strong option. So here we are at the end of lap 1. You can see Nathan in the lead there, just beginning to edge away. So I thought, let's just bump draft this Nissan GTR, and I trust him to be able to catch up. He might have had a bit of an iffy final part of that last lap there, but I'm just going to bump draft him. We get passed by the McLaren here on the inside, and we're going to move down into 4th position. It's a bit of lag here on the Spaniard. I thought, okay, actually, I'm going to follow through the McLaren and move back up into 3rd. And at this point in the race, it's quite early. It's only lap 2, and I felt as though I was quite happy to work with anyone to try to get towards the lead or try to pull away from the rest of the pack. I was quite happy to do that because it is a long race, about half an hour. So there's no need to really fight too much and let the leader get away. So with the leader here, about 1.1 seconds up in the lead. So nothing too drastic at this point in time. And coming through the final corner, lap number 2, you see people going for different lines here. I think just riding this banking as high as possible without going over the white line is about as high as you want to go. So here, actually we're just going to go straight past. I had a really good momentum there. I think I took a much better line. And so rather than bump draft, I think it is actually quicker just to go past in many occasions, such as this one. So we can go back through, and currently sitting just over a second away from Nathan in the lead. So it's not quite in the slipstream range. McLaren very close behind, 2 McLarens in fact, as we head in towards the second corner. Going to take the wide line. This tends to be the quickest line through here. Quite a weird line. But unfortunately, we get kind of pushed and edged into the wall and lose some crucial momentum, lose 3 positions, moving from 2nd to 5th. So suddenly I'm 2.5 seconds away from the lead. So that was not an ideal corner at all. At the end of the lap, end of lap number 3, the Nissan GTR not taking the best line, and a bit of weird lag again with this car. You see the paranormal activity here at high speed ring. We had this at Interlagos a few days ago, but now it's carrying over to high speed ring. BMW here, decent-ish power, not the best, but not too bad. And compared to the first race, I was just shifting a little bit earlier rather than revving this car out. It tends to be a bit quicker when you rev it a bit, so when you change up gear a little bit earlier in the rev range. So that was contributing to slightly extra speed on the straights, which was good. Now, looked like Hazard there in second, got himself a penalty. Very easy to do on that second corner. If you just graze the barrier a little bit too hard, you can easily get handed a 1.5 second penalty or a 3 second penalty. So he serves that there in the tunnel. Move back into 3rd and into the toe of the McLaren. Now Nathan in the lead, 2.7 seconds ahead, just constantly monitoring that gap to the leader. So even though he has stretched out quite a good margin here, given that it's a half-hour race, we still have a chance to catch up. And especially on a track like this, high speed ring with lots of straight lines, and therefore lots of opportunity for slipstreaming and bump drafting, you can always catch up that sort of gap. Now heading into turn number 2, the Greek driver is going to kind of forget how to drive and slide, and I kind of gambled that he would ghost out, but it didn't quite happen. So he inevitably gets murdered on that turn, and we go up into 2nd place. So unfortunately ghosting just didn't quite kick in there when I needed it, but it looked like he was halfway around already. So we move into 2nd. The McLaren here very close behind. The gap has immediately gone up into to 4 seconds to the leader. So a big time loss there with that incident, which is not ideal. But this is where things get really interesting. This is where the race really kind of changes, to be honest. Because as we head into turn 1, the big banking, there's just suddenly like no grip, and I'm into the barrier, and I'm pretty sure the car behind, Hazard there in the McLaren, did the same thing, and it's caught us both off guard. Really weird that there was just no grip all of a sudden, and we've just slid quite unceremoniously into the barrier. Quite a weird incident, but it kind of just shows you what can happen with changing conditions. And as we come up to the penalty line, I spotted Nathan in the lead also had a penalty. So it wasn't such a bad thing. And in fact, it looked like he had a 3-second penalty, because I definitely gained on him as the gap comes down to about 2 seconds. You see the BMW coming through here and taking third. So yeah, the gap to Nathan comes down by this point here to 1.5 seconds. It looked like the BMW behind, who caught up, wanted to work with me. So this was good. The gap was coming down to the leader, and the cars around me were willing to work with me to push on, to move forward, to close the gap. So we're in a good position here, and it's only lap 7. We're only about a third of the way into the race. Still got plenty of time here to catch up. So take a look at the gap here on the top left of the screen. This was the difference in lines for this final corner. I was taking the high line. It looks like Nathan was experimenting with a different line, and he wasn't able to get as much of an exit coming off of that corner. And as you can see, the gap comes down from about 1.4, and it's still coming down all the way down to about 0.7. And it just shows you your exit off of that final corner is so crucial, because you're going flat out for a very long time after it. The BMW goes through, courtesy of the slipstream, and also a good exit from that final turn. I wasn't too disheartened by that. I'm okay with that. If someone wants to go through, we can work together, we can catch up. That's not a problem at all. The main priority at this point of the race is to make sure the leader does not get away. So as long as we still have a chance of winning, then I'm happy. And we definitely do still have a chance of winning. Hazard just behind, very close. So we're pretty much almost in a group of 4 here at the front. And the race is just beginning to hot up as we get towards the halfway mark. In terms of the rain, still raining very slightly, just enough to keep it in sort of intermediate tyres territory. Not enough for wets and not dry enough for slicks. So we're kind of in that mid-range in terms of moisture on the circuit. The BMW did not get a good exit onto that straight there into the tunnel. So I thought about a move, but it wasn't really possible. And it's kind of weird on this track in the wet with the high lines you take through corners, because you want to actually sometimes go around the outside. It's kind of a weird one, rather than the inside. Now here, look at this. A bump drafted him. The bump draft of the century. Suddenly, he just gets propelled about 100 metres up the road. So I don't know what the hell was going on there. I think some sort of netcode issue, or either that or I'm just really good at bump drafting. I don't really know. But we propelled the BMW onwards, and then we can just tuck into the slipstream and catch up. We are now 0.8 seconds off of the lead. Catching up, drinking game for any reference to the gap to the leader, and that probably do you no good. Lap 9, we're almost halfway into the race. We will be at the end of this lap. It's a really good race. It's developing nicely for us. At one point I was a bit worried with a 4-second gap to the lead that Nathan was going to run away with it. And again here, the BMW not getting the best of exits onto this tunnel straight. So I'm on the left hand side here, I'm on the inside. I don't really particularly want to go into this corner on the left. It's kind of weird to say that, because you want normally the inside. So I'm just going to back out, go around the outside, and then try to bump draft on the exit. Now this infighting here between this group isn't helping. All of a sudden the gap is back up to 1.7 at the start of the straight there to the leader. So I go past the BMW, the McLaren goes past me, so I gain one, I lose one, and like I said before, I'm kind of okay with it as long as we can just catch back up again. So all the hard work you put in can get undone very quickly if you start fighting a little bit too much. What we need to do is just have a couple of solid laps here, consolidate our position in the pack, and then get that gap down. So here on the exit of the final corner, what we're going to do, we're going to bump draft Hazard Gamer once again, going to the back of him. Not sure if he's going to go propelling, flying off into the distance like it was before. But every little does help. The gap is coming down, and that is a good thing. So a couple of laps later, a couple of laps of solid laps. We did get the faster lap on that previous lap there, lap 12. And the gap is coming down to just below a second now. So it took a couple of laps there to really sort of get going with this method. But we got it to work, myself and Hazard. So all good stuff. And incidentally, the gap behind, as you can see, just opening up. There is a Mazda Atenza in 4th, so always a car to watch out for in Group 4. We're going to keep one eye, I suppose, on that pack behind, but they're still about 2.5 seconds behind at this point, so there's not too much point in worrying about them too much, but certainly just track their progress throughout the race. Now, we are definitely within slipstream range now of the lead. The top 3 separated by 3/4 of a second. Now, this is where things again change quite a lot, quite drastically. Watch the McLaren, just dips 2 wheels beyond the white line. Gets a nice big grazing session there with Barry R. We're going to go past him. Nathan with not the best exits, and we're going to have 2 for 1 here. Hazard actually gets a 3-second penalty for his misdemeanors there, and we move up into the lead of the race. So that was a really good little sequence, and it shows that our patience has been rewarded. We slowly but surely made our way towards the front. We was willing to work with people, not fight them, and eventually it's paid off. So now it's a case of, can we keep the lead? We still have 4.5 laps remaining, and it's not going to be an easy job. Nathan clearly very quick, not perhaps taking the best line through the final corner. I think that was his primary weakness from what I could judge so far in this race. He was losing a lot of time through that corner, then off of the corner, and then down the main straight. So if we could just pull away from him through that final turn, there is a chance that we could just edge clear. But it is going to be difficult, given the long straights. We're going to have to pull away by more than slipstream range, 0.7 seconds or so. Not easy to do. So at this point here, coming into the final turn, he's right on my tail, less than 2 tenths behind. Let's see if we can create a gap here. Getting on the power quite early, quite confidently, and I was really getting sort of to grips with that line. And actually pulled away by a couple of tenths, but unfortunately it's not enough. We pulled away by a few tenths there. By courtesy of the slipstream, he's just going to be able to come straight back at me here. And this wasn't a move I wasn't expecting really, because he goes to the left-hand side, which is the inside for this next corner. The McLaren had really good straight line speed, and he was able to get through and back into the lead. Now I wasn't sure how to defend that one really, because if I'd moved to the left, he would have gone to the right, and he probably would have got past me anyway, because he had quite a big overspeed. Looking for a return move into this right hand, not quite going to work. So I'm not sure how I could have really defended that one much better. It might have been worth going to the inside, but then he would have been able to sweep around the outside, which is actually the preferred line for that left-hander. But there you go, we're back into second. It's not a problem because we're still in the slipstream. We can try to get a return move here. It's all about setting yourself up through the exit of the final corner, and then getting a good run down the main straight, and then trying to overtake where he overtook me. Let's see if we can do that. Getting a good run through here. Sitting here about 4 tenths behind, and tuck into the slipstream down the main straight. You see the gap behind again, still that Atenza a couple of seconds behind. Don't really have to worry about them. So you can see here, as the race has developed, the amount of protagonists or characters in the leading battle has slowly been whittled down to 2, and here we are with 3 laps to go, less than 3 laps to go, and it's presumably going to be the one of us two who's going to take the victory in this one. So it's been a really good race so far. Not much in the way of incident. Well, there are a few incidents earlier. Nathan actually grazing the barrier on the exit, losing momentum. He covers the inside. Going to have to try this one around the outside. Is it going to work? Not quite there. Going to try it a little bit more. It might give me the inside line for the next one. Not quite able to make it happen. And this is where Nathan was really strong. On the exit of this corner into the tunnel, he always had a really good exit there, right up against the wall. and he was able to really just edge away by a tenth or two every lap through that turn. He was actually very, very strong through that turn. This is where he wasn't so strong. Let's see, because he's taking a better line there, really high line, and I think he's actually worked out the better way to take that. That's something that happens when you go past an opponent. You know, they're taking the wrong line, then suddenly you go past them and they start taking the correct line because they've learnt it from you. So now he's really sussed out the entire track. It's going to be quite hard to beat him here because he knows what he's doing completely. I mean, he knows what he's doing anyway, but he's taking the best lines through all the corners now. Looking up the inside, we're going to try it. We're going to go low, but you can see here, courtesy of the banking on the top end of the track, he's just able to keep the line, keep the momentum, and I'm not really able to get the move done. I just don't quite have the momentum that I want going into that corner on the long straight. We're going to still have a few more attempts here though, so it's not over yet. Sat here in second, but looking for the race victory. Once again, look at that exit. He gets a really good run into the tunnel, and I'm just about able to hang on in slipstream range. So we're going to have one more big opportunity, I would say, here through the final corner of the penultimate lap. This needs to be a good run here onto the main straight. We are less than 6/10 away as we exit the final turn, crossing the line to begin lap 18 of 18, catching up slowly but surely over the course of the long banking here of turn 1. It's not going to be enough to go for a move here into the second corner. You see the gap just isn't quite as small as I need it to be, and through here I just push a little bit too much. The back end kicks round and I just grazed the wall. 1.5 second penalty. That is our hopes dashed of the race victory. It's now going to be about keeping second, because a 1.5 second penalty could be quite costly. In fact, it's going to cost me more than 1.5 seconds, I would have thought. The guy in third, 3.5 seconds behind. I might just be safe. We're going to serve it here as we enter the tunnel. Nathan scampers off into the distance. Gave us a really very good race. I tried to say both words at the same time there. He gave us a very good race. Really fair play to him for holding his nerve and winning this one. The Spaniard in the Atenza goes narrow here to try the overtake. Doesn't quite work, as we've seen there on the external shot. As we round out the final turn of the final lap, we're going to cross the line here to finish in second position, and it was just a really good race. It was just a really outstanding race, and you know, I don't mind finishing second if, you know, it's a race with respect. It's raced well, clean, close, and that had everything, that one. A bit of strategy, not pit strategy, but just in terms of trying to catch back up with the lead. So given that we you know, we had a fairly mediocre first couple of laps, I think it was a good job to claw our way eventually back into the hunt, put myself into the lead for a lap or so, and give myself a chance of the race victory. Ultimately, it wasn't a win, it was second, but it was a really good race. I really hope you enjoyed it. Get yourself subscribed if you did, and drop a like as well. But thank you so much for watching this one. We look forward to more races like this in Gran Turismo 7, because that was really good. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.